Hello, welcome to Scrap Time, CHA Wrap-Up. My name is Christine, and in this episode we're talking about stamping and card making. And I'm joined by a few of my friends.
Tami Morrison.
Stephanie Hackney with Paper Crafters Corner.
And Nancy Nally.
So, what have you seen with stamping? We talked earlier a bit about foam stamps coming back. So that's more of a mixed media thing than card making. However, if you are a stamper, foam stamps, but big ones.
Right.
So I noticed that with Art Foamies, and then also at Stampendous, Natalie Colback has foam stamps, and what that's going to lead to is layering stamps. So with her stamps, you can stamp a solid image with one stamp and then stamp on top with another. But that concept of all these different layering stamps, I've seen like at Hero Arts has stamps you can layer to get different dimension in flowers.
Spellbinders, I think, has some too in their collection.
And Spellbinders doing stamps. It's
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, and Sizzix doing stamps.
I think the overarching story in the stamping segment is like the overall resurgence of stamping.
Everybody's doing stamps.
There's a lot of brand new companies in the new exhibitor section that are stamp companies.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the really vital section of the industry right now, is the rebirth of stamping. There's a couple really successful companies in the new exhibitor section that are stamp companies that have been born out of online on social media.
Like Waffle Flower.
Waffle Flower, Altenew is another one.
And then even over there you have the Misty for stamping, for your perfect placement. The Misty's been out for a bit. It's a tool. We have a demo that I'll put a link below, but it gives you perfect stamping, and it's been out, and just you have one. Many people bought it, but this is their first time showing here at CHA. They actually won the Paper Crafting Hot New Product Award.
Well, and they came out with a smaller version, so that's perfect for card makers.
And a bigger one for scrapbookers.
Right.
The 12 by 12 one for scrapbookers. So.
And also the hand lettering stamps. So like Tammy Totoro has a new line with Spellbinders, and she did all her hand lettering. And when you look at the cards, I mean, it looks like she hand lettered them. They're stamps that you color in. So, I think that's kind of cool.
And that's
her Dear Ruby stamp is actually scanned from a letter to her grandmother Ruby or something.
Yeah.
It's such a great story behind it.
It is. It's actually, she was telling me that it's her husband's grandmother.
That's right, yes.
It's her husband's grandmother, and that there were all different things. She had like letters from people, and in the middle is a love poem from her husband. I mean, it's
really
gorgeous.
a sweet story.
Yeah.
And then there's the sort of bigger outline stamps for coloring as part of that coloring book craze, but stamping the image and then coloring it in with all your stuff.
Yeah, and that goes back then into all the mixed media, where people are using all of these different mediums, the markers and the pens and
watercolor paints,
and
on your
all
cards.
of that, and using it with all of these stamps and everything to
I think we're
create
seeing
the cards.
a resurgence of the block printing style too. I've seen a lot of block stamping. There's Blockwalla, which is the rosewood hand carved in India stamps. They're beautiful. They're like art in and of themselves.
Yeah, you just want to put them on your
You
shelf.
do. You just want to display them, but they make really nice imprints with paint, which I think is important because paint is inexpensive. You can get a lot of colors for not very much money,
And then
and that's the foam stamps too.
Silhouette has the mint to make a stamp, and it's a small stamp, but it's another way of making. It's like do you remember what was that? Do you remember the material? What's it called? Their stamp. We filmed a video. You can just watch the video below to see their stamp and how it all works. But it's a different way of stamping and using photos to make your own stamps. And then Brother has silicone material that you can use cut in the scan and cut and make your own stamps out of digital images that way as well.
Well, and I think the nice thing about those two is, so there used to be the Stamp Centric had that machine, the one that Teresa Cullen signed on with for the stamp maker. And I think, price point may have been an issue, but it also, you were using chemicals. You were using chemical pouches to create the stamp. And you really had to know what you were doing. You had to be careful with light. Whereas with like the mint, it doesn't require that. And the same with this is that it's a cuttable material, right?
Yeah.
That you can put in. Even Silhouette had stamp material like a year ago they came out with that, and so it gives people that again a chance to personalize and to create something from a photo, or maybe that's another way of, you know, doing something with those photos.
Yeah, at the Silhouette booth, they had a whole bunch of for save the date and wedding things using their stamps and stuff.
Lots of planner stamps, tons of planner stamps.
Yes, little stamps,
And a lot that you could read that you don't necessarily have to use in a planner. I mean that you know, or just little words. So like, you know, like some of us like to cluster things and put 2 or 3 words. You know, that's another way to do it. Make your own stickers.
And then shaker cards.
Yep.
It's huge.
Shakers are back.
And I
Who'd have
noticed
thought?
a lot of booths just sort of made their own shaker format, but Jelly Bean actually has the shaker,
They have the shaker
plastic
to
put in, like
it's
the
like
dimensional
a little plastic bubble.
Yeah.
You put your stuff
and
in
I think a few shapes of them.
How thick is it? How
They're
tall?
Though I know they're selling special envelopes with their card kits to go with the increased dimension, because it's a bubble that sticks up an inch or
quite
so. I
big.
think. Yeah.
Right.
Whereas other people are just, I think, using the acetate sheets and layering and closing it up, like making their own. But cards that you can shake.
And I feel like that's an offshoot of the pocket pages that we were seeing in scrapbooking, where people were putting stuff in the pocket, sequins and things.
Yeah,
I think
and then
that
with the
sort of brought the
fuse, you can
shakers
close
back.
it.
Yeah.
It's also interesting that a lot of the stamp companies, as they've started to grow their collection of stamps, they've all added inks, right? So Lawn Fawn started with stamps, then they got inks, and Alta Nu now has inks,
and
Dare
Avery
to Be
they had it
Artsy,
before,
and
but
Avery L, and I mean, a lot of those companies that made stamps then started to make their own, or
and then
have
the
inks
paper
made
to
for
match
them.
their stamps.
Right.
So I guess that gives the consumer one place to just buy it all coordinates, and it all goes back really to Stampin' Up, where they had their paper collections with their matching inks and their matching markers and everything coordinated, and you can just shop
It's
here.
creating an ecosystem, basically. And if you take a step back, all of this is tied to a resurgence in card making. Versus, you know, most of the stuff that we're seeing is not designed for scrapbookers. You know, we're talking about planner stamps. You know, we're talking about shaker boxes for cards.
Mixed media for home decor.
Yeah, you'll notice most of the stamps that are coming out are much smaller scale, and the big ones are mostly backgrounds for cards, or, you know, backgrounds for like mixed media type stuff. We're not seeing a lot of scrapbooking stamps.
Right.
It's all for these
have
other
to diversify
activities
to stay afloat.
Right, but the stamping is not in the, you know, we're not seeing big alphabet stamps for stamping your title on a layout. We're seeing little alphabet stamps for cards and planners
And lots of background. So like people taking the jelly plate prints, making those the background, using watercolors, using their coloring pages, using Zentangle pages as sort of the base for the card, and putting things on top.
There's another new company, well, new to CHA, I don't think they're new, but Carabelle from France. And so they came up with like huge stamps for art journals. Like, so you would stamp in your art journal, and a lot of their stamps are more for the mixed media art journal market.
So more like the ones Diane Reedley has, the larger
Yeah, well, these
scale.
were like, I think they're like almost the 8.5 by 11 size.
Wow.
They have other sizes, but they have this collection of really huge stamps that you can use in your art journal. So, you know, they also have ones you can use, even art journal stamps you can use on card making, because I know personally I'll do a lot of art journal techniques on cards and make like artsy cards. But, you know, so there's some crossover there. But yeah, all the stamps are either for mixed media, planners, or art journaling, less so for scrapbookers.
Yeah, you don't see like phrases designed for, you know, a day at the zoo, or, you know, when you see like, for instance, a set of baby stamps, it's not designed to be like the cute baby scrapbook page. It's designed for the, you know,
welcome new
baby card,
or the shower invitations.
or the shower invitations. It's definitely not aimed at usually at a scrapbooker.
Well, and we're still seeing new stencils, new die cuts, and new embossing folders coming out, which, you know, those have always been popular for card making because you add a lot of texture.
And I know I was at Sizzix and they have like the deeper embossing folders for more texture. And I always want to be deeper. more.
More.
Well, and Spellbinders now has the steel roll
Right, yeah, they have the steel rule now. Spellbinders really changed. Sorry, I'm staring at them because they're right in front of me. But they introduced like all these designers and
Seth Apter and Tami Morrison and Debbie Adams.
yeah, so it's more like they're doing their die cuts and they're doing stamping, but most of their projects were still card based. We have a huge video where I filmed everything, and I would say it's still very card based.
Seth had, because he's very, very mixed media, he had like what appeared to be small canvases, but other than that, yeah, it was largely cards.
There may have been that in like wedding decor.
Yes, party planning, yeah, and that ties in with the card making though, because in the sense that it's event based.
Yeah.
Well, and even using those same products for like in the Spellbinders booth, they had like the little wedding favor boxes and the place cards and everything very intricately cut out. And, you know, and I think as long as people like Tim Holtz are really popular and constantly coming out with cool new things and, you know, and showing them in cards, I think we're going to continue to have excitement around that. And, you know, even bringing people in from other types of paper crafting. Because a card's an easy thing.
Yeah, and then there was, we were at Sizzix, and Stephanie Barnard has her little, it's a die, and within 3 minutes or something, she made us a card, and it like sort of moved to that.
Right.
We have a video of that as well. But to show how quick, she's like, did the card start to finish in like about 3 minutes. So.
And she has a club, because I've been a member since she started, so she has like a stamping club, and every month you get a new stamp. And I noticed that Technique Tuesday, you know, so they have the Greenhouse Society, which was their original stamp club. They have another one now. And, you know, I fully believe that some of the planner companies are going to jump on that bandwagon of like every month, you know, you sign up as a club member and you're going to get a new stamp every month.
Yeah, I think Scarlet Line
Studio
has
Calico, I'm pretty sure, has a planner club, don't they?
possibly, yeah.
They may have.
And I know Ellie Edwards, so she has a stamp club that you get every month.
Yep, she has her kit club thing and a stamp club.
So I guess it's safe to say that stamps and card making are here for the long haul.
Yeah, it's an interesting trend to me because to people who've been around the industry a very long time, you know that they were around that was the trend before the scrapbooking.
Yeah.
When I started working in a local scrapbook store in Jacksonville in 2000, it was a scrapbook store that had actually been a stamp store before it took on scrapbooking. So it's like the full circle is you know coming, and we're going back to the stamping from the scrapbooking.
Well, and I lived out here, and in Carson there was a stamp event, and that's actually the first time I ever saw Tim Holtz was demoing at that Carson show, and that rubber stamp show was massive. I mean, it was you could barely get through it in a day, and you know it's over the years it's gotten smaller and smaller, and then they kind of diversified with some other supplies.
So good news for card makers and stampers. There is so much for you to choose from. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to like our video and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Scrap Time Videos, to be the first to see the latest videos from CHA 2016.